is a new OTT platform. It's equivalent to Hulu, to Netflix. It was started by James DeBose, who he and I helped launch Fox Soul. Anybody familiar with Fox Soul in here? So that was created by myself. Actually, the LA Sentinel sent me to Fox Studios to as a focus group. And I walked in, and it was three white men sitting at a table, and they just were like, "We want to start an OTT platform, and we don't know what to do." And I had just returned from the Power Rising conference. Anybody familiar with the Power Rising conference? And so I had all this black girl magic, and I was like, "Is this a free canvas? Can I just tell you?" And we talked for 2 hours, and the next thing you knew, they were like, "We're going to do our OTT platform on black content." They brought James DeBose in, and that's how Fox Soul started. But you can only go so far and be so black at Fox, right? So we stuck to our mission of being unapologetically black. We did a special for the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, which Dr. Chavis was a part of. We were like, it's Fox, we're gonna go super black. And we were gonna run Minister Louis Farrakhan's speech that year when he did his speech. And then they said, okay, you guys are doing faux much. Not too much, but faux much. So then that's when we learned, okay, this space has its limits. So that's where In the Black Network came. We learned all this information, so now we have this OTT platform. You could download it on your phone. You could watch it on Samsung, Apple, Roku. So I encourage you to download the In the Black app. With that being said, we also want to thank Dr. Chavis for officially making us a member of the NNPA. So we want to be a resource for you as well for content, which is something that we will talk more about. And so we did a special called What's at Stake, and we interviewed Stacey Brown, and so we want to share a little bit of that with you right now. Peace and blessings. I'm Neo Anderson, and welcome to What's at Stake, where we discuss the issues and highlight black leadership and challenge the status quo. And there's no other place to catch up with the policy shapers and game changers than at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual legislative conference. Now, the 2023 conference theme was securing our democracy, protecting our freedoms, uplifting our culture, and a time was had. And the conversations you are about to see took place at the conference in Washington, D.C. We're just under a year before the tell their story, yep, but they never want to put the dollars behind it compared to the mainstream papers like Washington Post, New York Times. Right. Can you talk about some of those challenges and why you think they are? Well, first thing is they got to understand we don't have our hands out, right? We're providing valuable information, and in some cases, life-saving information. Right. So you want to be able to hold this, not only your local officials and your federal officials responsible, but you want everybody to be held accountable, right? And that's the role the Black press has played for 196 years now, right, holding America accountable. And that includes corporate America. The day after Martin Luther King was assassinated, Marlon Brando went on the Johnny Carson show, and he talked about how King's death affected him. And he recited almost word for word King's last speech. You know, I've been to the mountaintop. And he was almost in tears. Marlon Brando, the actor, pledging every dollar he had, his fame and everything, to change things. And I thought, wow, this is what we heard from corporate America and others after George Floyd's murder. And as you already pointed out, where did they go? You know, what happened? As that meme said, where the money reside. There you go. Exactly. Where the money reside. African Americans are the top consumers in this country. We spend more. We're loyal to our brands. Very much so. How do we flip it to where it's more equity and equitable for Black companies to benefit from us, the consumers? So from my view, where I sit, and I talk about this a lot, and it's not to put the load on any one or a couple people's shoulders, but those who have made it. And we have some. We're talking about celebrities? We're talking about celebrities, we're talking about business people. Okay. Black business owners, Black entrepreneurs, Black billionaires. They have to reach back. And not in a way which is just for an applause or, you know, a headline. But they have to reach back. There are certain artists, if you will, who are famous for buying full-page ads in mainstream media, right, and ignoring the Black press. They have to take a deep inflection, look in the mirror, and it doesn't only fall on them, but they could really help and give us all that giving back spirit. We've seen so many climb that ladder and have pulled people up, but we've seen an equal amount climb that ladder and kick the ladder out from underneath us. Right. We need less of that. So it sounds like we're talking about two issues. We're talking about corporate responsibility, and we're talking about us being my brothers and sisters keeper and understanding that that's how we build our ecosystem. Right. That's how we get away from depending upon corporate America. Right. Let's depend on ourselves. For us, by us.
As the nation approaches the countdown to election 2024, what's at stake emerges as the essential lens through which the political landscape is examined. Join host Neil Anderson as she guides you through this ever-evolving political climate.
This country is in a very critical place right now. There are a lot of people that are going through a lot of emotional turmoil and mental turmoil because of the state of America.
We're on a mission to connect with change makers who are shaping the future of Blacks in this country. From seasoned politicians,
regardless of whatever dollar amount we attach to reparations, it will never compensate for 400 years of slavery and bondage.
To local leaders and the rising stars of tomorrow, What's at Stake sits down with those at the forefront of change to discuss the pressing issues, policies, and the historical significance of voting in America.
I think the young people offer such a diverse, multicultural perspective.
Embrace the moment, be the change, stay informed, and be empowered with What's at Stake. Coming soon to the In the Black Network.
So that's what's at stake. And like Stacy said, we have to learn how to build our ecosystem amongst each other. So a lot of things that they were saying today about collaboration and working together, that's going to be critical for the 2024 election, right? And so building off of that, what are some of the things, I want this to be very interactive. What are some of the things right now your newspaper is thinking about as you look at the 2024 election as far as content and how that content can turn into revenue? Has anybody thought about that? To monetize it. Okay, so go ahead.
For over 16, 17 years consecutively, the Dallas Examiner has presented Monday Night Politics, Meet the Candidates. We invite all the candidates. The whole thing is we have never endorsed a candidate, and our sponsors are all of the African American sororities, all the 501c3s, the Links, the NAACP. They help us get the word out, and we have it at the African American Museum in the auditorium. The whole purpose is to have informed voters so that when we go to the polls to vote, you know who you're voting for, you're informed, okay? So it's been very popular. In fact, we recently got a trademark for it, and from the U.S. Patent Office. But anyway, but I haven't monetized it. I don't take any money. I've been approached for people who want to be title sponsors, da-da-da-da-da. But I don't take money. I don't know, and I would like to learn how to monetize it. My son sells political ads, but they know that we don't connect the advertise. You don't have to advertise to participate in Monday Night Politics. So I would like to learn how to, monetize it. Now, we live stream it on Facebook Live. We put videos on our website. We promote it on our social media platforms. We do 2 TikToks a week. We do Instagram, all this stuff. We make a dime off of it. So I'd like to learn how to monetize it. I know, at the Examiner, we are very involved in the community. We are not just members, life members of the NAACP, but we go to NAACP meetings. We belong to coalition groups, OVOV, Our Vote is Our Voice. I mean, we are doing all we can. In fact, we have a younger person in that younger group of voters that we know we're not missing, that we're missing. They're not voting. They don't care. So I'd like to hear the discussion. How can we reach these people?
Anybody else? Anybody else? Any other papers thinking about content for the 2024 election and ways to generate that revenue?
So I actually want to respond to what was just said. We actually do the same thing for the conversation with Al McFarland, where we invite politicians to come out and have a conversation with Al McFarland. We don't charge for that, but we do get sponsors for the actual show itself. So we have like the health department, we have local nonprofits, and so we have their logos at the bottom of our live stream. And that's how we get paid for that. We charge $5,000 per sponsorship, and so they'll sponsor that, and they'll also put ads in between, at different timestamps on the actual video. Then what we do once the election is over is that everyone that we invited out that won, they purchase an ad to just thank the community. So that's how we're using it to make money.
All right, see this communication we're sharing, it's teaching. Let's go.
I'm in Dallas with Molly, and they do a great job. And but I do have to say something about the Democratic Party, and I do also have to say that we have to go to all the parties and reach them. I even run in my calendar Monday Night Politics, because it's not about, she's doing something good for the community, and I think it doesn't hurt my paper by announcing that she's doing that. I wish there was a way, and I do talk. When I go, I talk for all the papers.
Right.
I've gone to Birmingham and said, hey, met somebody. Ashura said she was running for office. I said, "Are you advertising with the Birmingham Times?" They didn't know I was doing that. But if we support each other across the country, and I said, you need to be advertising. And we need to keep putting that out there. People in Dallas, they cry broke. The Democrats, they always are crying broke. They don't have any money. And we see on a national level, we see how they diss us. And so we have to call them out. We have to start at the top. And again, like I told Sonny, I should have went to New York myself and asked Mike Bloomberg to run. Because he seemed like the only one who got it when it came to advertising with him and the other one who got out shortly after last time. But she's doing a great job, and she still has to people have the nerve to tell her she's charging too much because they want to pay $10 for an ad.
Well, you brought up the Democratic Party, right? So how many people in here are familiar with the DCCC? Okay, so they have tons of money, and all they talk about is how the black vote is going to save them. So we heard one thing, that there's power in numbers, right? So that means that we have to lean on Dr. Chavis and Dr. Bobby to come together to meet with the DCCC, because they're at meetings. I've been at meetings to where they stood up and said, we have black dollars to spend, millions of it. We're just not tapping into it. And so we need to have a list of organizations to go after, starting with the DCCC, because all of these congressional races that are happening across the country, a lot of your newspapers are in those markets. We need to tap into those dollars. How many newspapers in here are in swing states? Swing states. There's money for your state. Your vote, especially for the Democratic Party. Now, we're nonpartisan. We can't pick a side, but we know where the money resides, right? So we need to figure out collectively, we start at the top, and we figure out from the NNPA perspective, what are the swing states? These are the top tiers where we need to be spreading out money, and then we need to figure out how to get the money in those other resources. So everybody write down the DCCC, and we're going to lean on Dr. Chavis and Dr. Bobby on that one. Right.
I know that the Dallas County Democratic Party. I talked with the chairman. He told me that the Dallas County Democratic Party has more money than the state Democratic Party, but they're not spending the money. Now, and if they spend it, they're not going to spend it with black papers. Before the last election, the Dallas Examiner, we had 39 forums, and this time we're going to have 17. And it's like Congresswoman Johnson told me a long time ago. She said, you and James got this paper's a labor of love, because we ain't making no money off of it. But when you start talking about money, they don't want to pay money to black newspapers. They can put it on TV first.
Right. All right, Stacy.
So you mentioned the DCCC, and you mentioned Michigan in particular. So we did a story recently. They have $35 million dedicated to particularly Michigan. So Hiram and everyone else in Michigan should really be talking to the DCCC right now. And you mentioned also how Dr. Chavis and Bobby Henry should lead, and it should be Dr. Chavis and Bobby in particular. But in my view, and this is out of my pay grade, but I think they should bring along others from the board to have these meetings, because what the DCCC and the DNC and others are doing is they're talking to black targeted media.
Right.
They're not talking to black owned media.
Right.
And so that conversation has to start there.
And you're right, because I remember at Fox Soul, Vice President Harris called a meeting for black media, and it was Jason Lee from Hollywood Unlocked. It was James DeBose from Fox Soul at the time. It was the Shade Room. It was the guy from Neighborhood Talk. And I called Danny Jr. like, did you know that Kamala Harris is having a meeting and we're not at the table? Where's the black press? And he called and it was like, oh, well, you could come if you want to, but it was for those social media sites. So to your point, we definitely have to speak up because a lot of times they're not even looking at the black press as black media. Right, right, right. Oh, we have a question?
I'm Carol Zippert with the Greene County Democrat in Alabama. And we have a new congressional district that's going to help the Democratic Party take over Congress. You know, we had just one with Terry Sewell, but now we have another one after a big fight. So don't just send the money to Michigan. You know, it needs to come to Alabama as well. So I just want to make that point. If y'all remember me from years ago, that's me. Send the money to Alabama.
I love that you.
So we got Michigan. Who's taking notes?
Michigan, Alabama,
Who's
Georgia.
taking notes? Michigan,
I heard all that. Okay.
Alabama.
I like that you brought that up because the biggest thing is another space that I work in is with a nonprofit that focuses in on civil rights and racial justice, right? Work with movement lawyers, right? About the various cases regarding redistricting, gerrymandering, the stuff that you're talking about right now. And they're getting this information out to their local partners through the news. One of the biggest things that I brought of value to them, and Stacy and Greer can attest to this, is that I said, do you all realize that this is a black woman-led organization? It's majority black. Most of the attorneys are black, okay? And you all have not mentioned a black press outlet that you want to advertise or put out this information in. They didn't even know what the Newswire was. They didn't know how many publications are actually in print. So one of the things that I was able to give them was literally a form. Like I did an entire thing where I said, hey, this is where these black newspapers are. They're on digital, they're in print. Or they're on print, they're not only on digital. And they had to pick where they wanted to spread that money. So the biggest thing is when we do get ready to go to them, everybody should be included, period, no matter what. But of course, those areas where they have the most money to really target their local communities and stuff like that, you all can't be mad if one publication gets the money or if there's a focus on that. But the thing is there's a strong possibility, especially in Alabama, for you all to make some more money as far as like really trying to tell them, look, use us. Because another thing to your point is we know that they look at us a certain way, but at this point in time, we all need to start shaming some of these people because if you feel like we're always going to be here, well, then where's your money? Because we can always show you what we can do or we can walk away. And that's the biggest thing that I think that I would call to action to all y'all in here. I can help because I don't mind. These people don't scare me. But it's very important that if you all want them to take you seriously, don't sit back and just let them continue to steer that narrative. Tell them how they can come to us correct. Because just like how they did you and saying, oh, but y'all can come, I'd have been like, no, I'm not finna come if that's how you gonna invite me.
Right, right. And
like you need to invite me properly.
Oh, who is it?
All right, we have another comment.
I can't follow up with that strong sister because you the one. But this is what I also see. I'm in Ohio, so we ain't even a swing state anymore, okay? We're red, right? But in my county, for the last 225 years, it's been a Republican-controlled county. In the last 15 years to present day, we've flipped the county, you know. And I work with both parties, city, local, state, and up top there at the DNC and DCC. The reality is, just because you're not in a swing state, you need to work your county to get the money, because there's money there. And you don't necessarily always have to start with the Democratic Party. If you don't call on both parties, you're setting yourself up for them to say, both parties, well, nobody called me. Okay. The second thing, being direct with you. One call ain't gonna do it.
Right.
And you can't start in September. You have to start today. This is a 11-month venture because politicians, especially on the local level, are always begging for money, and you got to be there when they get some money on the local level. That's the reality. So there's money if you're not in a swing state. You have to go work for it.
Right. And let me say this. It's not just about the president. This is a moment to where we can focus on the issues. Big issues like for us, our conversation in our community is reparations. What are abortion rights? So, Planned Parenthood may have dollars. You know what I mean? If you're the breakout star with that content. So this is an opportunity for us together to create maybe a 5-bullet, these are the 5 topics that we're going to run with this year. Of course, the president is one, but there's so many issues within our community. Healthcare. What are the issues that we want to uplift and to mobilize our communities around? These types of conversations, if they spread from paper to paper, then these people are going to start paying attention to what we're saying, because you know why? We're more powerful when we mobilize and when we have the numbers. I mean, we have a jewel right here, the minister, Mark Thompson. He's on the front line all the time. All the time. He is a curator of our issues. There has to be a way to where we're taking his content and pushing it and amplifying it. So there's so many types of ideas in this room. So instead of us just talking to each other, how do we strategize together? How do we leave here and go back to our local communities with a national plan to tap into the dollars and to help our people? Somebody else. I know somebody else has something.
One of the things I wanted to say is that if you live in a red state, you still doesn't mean anything, because all parties are right, and the Republican Party is a very different party now, but they're more transactional than anything, right? So if they're running, if they're running the show, then you got to educate your voters on how to use them to get your issues across. And the black press is the most powerful tool that we have. And I'm there to say, excuse me, Dr. Chavis Mark, stronger than the church. It's become stronger than the the church. Truth, really. Yeah, because that has changed. So if you live in a red, town, so
Right.
right, make them work for you and use those resources. Teach your readers how to understand this process, to get involved, right? Even if they are red, because some of those who are coming in new, they're going to be a little greener, and they're more likely to run a campaign that's based on the needs of the people, right? And so I'm just saying, we get into this red and blue thing. We can't really afford to get caught up in that.
Right. No, my friend, Dr. West Bellamy says, my politics are not Democrat or Republican. My politics are black. Right. Right. Let me ask the question okay, one question first. From the NNPA to local newspapers, is anybody partnered with a voter registration campaign? Like When We All Vote, Rock the Vote? Okay, what organization are you partnered with? NAACP?
the Dallas Examiner has nonprofit, and it's really used as a fiscal agent. And so we partner with what is it? I always get it confused. Black Voters Matter.
Yes,
Fund.
love them.
And they
Brown,
provide funding
Cliff
for
Albright.
people to get out and go door to door, and we facilitate that.
Who? Is there a paper here from South Carolina?
No, a paper.
I knew. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go. Wait, I'm sorry. We have one person that was. Oh, go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
I don't know. In Alabama, that doesn't apply about getting the red money. It just doesn't apply in Alabama. And our Greene County Democrat is associated with Black Voters Matter. We have, John and I are political organizers as well. We are affiliated with the Alabama New South Coalition, Alabama New South Alliance. We work to get the vote out. In our county, we're small, but we are effective in our county. I mean, Alabama got less than 10,000 people. Greene County. Greene County. We're small, but we're strong. But that doesn't apply to our how much power we have across the state, because 25% of the population, black folks, in Alabama. So Republicans don't give us money, and I'm sure not gonna put a Trump ad in my paper. I don't know what's wrong. I'm gonna speak it. And the Democrats are not giving us money. We are, not from the party. So I don't know. Alabama might just be a strange place, but it's a rough place.
Are any of the other papers getting Republican money? Anybody in here getting Republican money? Wait. Yes.
No. Mine is a statement. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm JT with LA Focus. So a couple of things. I want to piggyback on the comment of the church. The church is still the most valuable voice in America, but I think the black church has not utilized its voice well, and we have to do better at that. Okay, so I'll move on from there. But when it comes to red versus black, what I've noticed in this political season, and I'm the new guy on the block learning from all the wisdom in the room, but what I've learned is to look beyond red versus black, red versus blue, and really look at the issues that matter to my community. I'm going to dance around. So needless to say, if I know that abortion is a big issue, then I'm going to go after maybe abortion money. Who's speaking to that? And if I notice that a hot button issue is housing, I may not go to a politician to advertise, but I may go to an organization that is speaking towards housing. So I think it's important for us to look for the money in other places outside of the politicians, but don't be fooled. These politicians do have money. You just need to be consistent and in their face. And sometimes the money comes from relationship, not just transaction. That's it.
And that's a great point. So I want to ask the question. He just brought it up. I talked about Planned Parenthood, talked about reparations. Like, if we had to narrow down the top 3 issues that are important to black people when we look at the 2024 election, what would they be? Housing. Okay. All right, okay, wait. So, let's start with housing. By a raise of hand, if we had to pick 3, how many vote for housing to be in the top 3? By a raise of hand. Let's get, okay, so housing. Wait a minute, housing. Okay, so we have housing, healthcare, reparations. Okay, so we have housing, healthcare, reparations, gun violence, voting rights. Economics.
But specifically, do we want to say jobs? Is that what we're saying? Well, what else? Be specific. What about economics? Jobs. Okay. Business development, small business, wages, jobs,
Oh, we didn't say education.
education. Need to add education.
Would that fall under healthcare?
No, I think that's unique and distinct. The election, frankly, is going to pretty much hinge on women's bodily autonomy. And the reason I say that because the two demographics that are going to decide the election are going to be the black electorate, as always, and the other category is college-educated white women. Some of them voted for Trump. They regret it now, and that's why every election since the overturning of Roe, the Democrats have won. That's what's gonna move that, and it's getting worse every day because they're arresting women, and a woman had a miscarriage and went to arrest her. Tore up the house looking for where the miscarriage was. You know, they're making that like, you know, a fugitive type of thing. So women's reproductive rights, women's bodily autonomy, because now it's even more than reproductive rights, because you cannot go, they want to arrest you for going to another state, so you can't even move. So women's reproductive rights, women's bodily autonomy is going to be important. And I think for black women, it's disproportionate always. Everything that affects, whatever they get that's a cold, we get cancer from it.
Right.
So that's what's gonna make people passionate.
Okay, so this is what
and the
we have.
last issue is Gaza, because a
Gaza?
lot of young
Yeah,
black
we
folks
talked about that last
are gonna vote based upon what happens over there.
So okay, so here's what we've. Okay,
Medicaid expansion.
so we have the root, and then the tree has many branches. So as a collective, we've said these are the issues that are most important to our readers, our community, and to the NNPA at large: housing, healthcare, reparations, gun violence, voting rights, small business economics, education, and women's rights. Oh, that's a good one. How can we forget the unhoused? That's under, so we're going to put that under housing? Affordable housing. That's an article. That's an article. Yes, so we have a root, and a tree has many branches. So wherever the curation takes you, but it's under those. But look how we collectively just came up with the plan, and we're dedicated to it, and we're going to use the what? The news wire, right? Right? Does everybody use the news wire? Okay, what we got? What Stacy's been waiting. Go ahead, Stacy.
Okay, so I'll try and be as brief as possible because all those issues you listed, the simplification is this. You will get none of that under a Republican-run presidency, period, right? Number two, Ambassador Andrew Young, I had a conversation with Dr. Chavis, had a conversation with him more recently than I have, but he said to Dr. Chavis what he said to me last year when I sat down with him in Atlanta. And he talked about the power that they realized that they built down in Atlanta, in Georgia. And so much so that the president, Johnson, would call them up and say, listen, here, I got some names for the Supreme Court. This is Andrew Young talking. He says, which name can y'all get behind? Whatever name y'all get behind is who we are going to nominate. And they got their judges. It was Andrew Young and those civil rights leaders that got the nominations for the Supreme Court through because they had the power, right, collectively. And because they did that, the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Acts passed, right? Because they knew they couldn't take it to the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court was going to side with Andrew Young and the Black Coalition. So I say all that to say, too, that we keep every conference we've had, and I've been with NNPA now 10 years, every single conference I hear the same thing, and everybody in this room has probably said the same thing. If we would just join together, if we would just be that one force that we know we can be if everyone came together. And then we have a man who leads this organization, and some people may have their issues with Dr. Chavis, but Dr. Chavis is not infallible, and he'll be the first to tell you that. But he has proven to be an amazingly great leader who, if he's sitting at that negotiations table, he has every 250 publishers in mind and their best interests in mind, personally and for their business. So it would behoove us, so as we talk about getting money, it would behoove us to get behind Dr. Chavis, to join him, like as I said earlier, the board or some representatives of NNPA sat with him and let him lead those discussions, but go in as a group and show the power that we really have. And when Dr. Chavis says, publishers, here's an important story, put it on the front pages of your papers, on your websites. Listen, you haven't done it, so how about trying it his way sometime? And join together in doing it. And let's just get it on. They can't defeat, listen, a win, all those things you listed, as I said at the top of what I just started, all those things you listed will not happen. None of it will happen if Donald Trump is the president of the United States come January 20th, 2025.
Sounds like no Republican money to me. No, I'm just
So I just want to say this. I think, Stacey, you're spot on, but here's where my confusion comes in. Well, my name is Tracy. I'm with the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. So I hear what everybody's saying, but I'm real confused because we started off with a whole different presentation that I didn't hear come from NNPA. I heard it come from the sister that's up there, which is great, but then it evolved into NNPA, so I'm not sure if we're talking to the, but is she, because it was a different video that she was showing me. So there's where my first confusion comes. So I say all this to say, if we're talking to Dr. Chavis and we are gonna come collectively, ideally, here's how I have worked on with local newspapers. So we collaborate together as local newspapers. If I'm gonna go out and represent all of them, I put a plan in front of them and I say, here's where I want to, and this is what I'm suggesting Dr. Chavis consider. Here's what I'm suggesting that we do as a group, and then get all of us to sign on. Now, individually, if you live wherever, you gotta go for your own local money, but when it comes to national buys and we're gonna come as a group, we need to understand what that process is going to be. And then we also want to make sure that it's always representing the, and I hear the whole group, but I understand too that there's a lot of publishers I've spoken to that say that they haven't gotten anything. So we got to figure out how to change that, but also make sure that everybody understands what the plan is. So Dr. Shaver's going to do this letter. He's going to send it out. He's going to go to this meeting. There's a plan that we all can buy into. I don't see that plan, and I'm asking if there a plan that we could see to say, here is a plan that we're going to move forward with, and then we want everybody to buy in.
Thank you. First, I just want to, first of all, this is a great session. Let's thank our sister for her presentation. And she is part of the NNPA. That's why she's here. Nobody is going to come on this stage if they don't have a relationship with the NNPA. We have a filter. No? Yeah, well, okay. Well, I'm saying when Neely speaks, when she was at Fox Soul even, we are already collaborating. She's been with the Los Angeles Sentinel. Now she's started her own company. But we still have relationships. I just don't want us to become too judgmental on one another. And I just want to dispel a myth. Number one, in 2020, which was just 4 years ago, every publication in this room got the census ad. Not some, every. And when we negotiated the census ad, well, let me say, raise your hand if you did not get a census ad. Because you're in Virginia, that's right. They left, and Brenda and I knew that the census made a mistake because Tidewater has a large black community. And the problem is a lot of these people that make decisions, and I'm just going to tell you, the leaders of the Tree Upper Sea are black. Because you have a black person in place does not mean that they're going to do business with black people. Number two, we have an African-American sister as the Vice President of the United States. She has sway. But the DNC, DCCC, the DNC, the DSC, that's the Democratic Senate Committee, the Democratic Governors Committee, they have an Association of Attorney Generals. All of them have money. And all of them are going to spend money this year. Most of the planning of what they're going to do was done last year. We're in the election year. So have we had meetings in 2023 with them? Yes. I think what's missing is not so much us. We are together. That's why we're in here. The question is, what are we going to do when we leave here? And number two, it is the unity of our messaging. If we come out holding the Democrat Party to account, there'll be some who say, well, wow, we don't want to hold the Democratic Party to account because that'll be a vote for Trump. So our messaging has to be so clear that we want to get out our vote. The theme of this convention, the theme of this mid-morning training, strictly linked with the empowerment of our community. Let me say that again. There's money going to flow through our businesses. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't want us to get off point. What Sister was presenting as part of an NNPA presentation was what you do as an entrepreneur to set up a platform, particularly in the digital space, that can serve our community. And she's basically asking us, how can these platforms work together? How can we all work together? So yes, we're going to have some meetings. Tracy just had a meeting with the White House staff. We got on their case, didn't we? Right. Right. We're going to get on all of their case. And there's a meeting coming up, I don't mind telling you, no secrets, where I am going to take a representation of the publishers here to a high-level meeting to try to get funding for everybody. And swing states, we're all swinging. We're all swinging from branches. So every state is a swing state. I don't want anybody to go out here and say that we're only going to mobilize for swing states. If you got black people, you're swinging. And I mean that. Because a lot of, the reason why we got the census, that's why I'm going to go back to 2020, because it's always best to speak on track record rather than what you're going to do, what have you done. We negotiated the largest, I it was it almost came to $4 million. And then when you're right, Bloomberg ran. He only ran he didn't get the Super Tuesday, but he put out a $3 million ad buy, particularly for some of those states where he was running in the primary. So it's not so much, yes, we have to work hard, but we got to work smart. And part of working smart is to have a uniformity in our messaging, because it is the absence of the uniform of our messaging that makes us look weaker than what we are. If the DNC knew that we plan to publish something on the front page of our papers about the black vote and whether or not the DNC is taking the black vote for granted, I guarantee you we'll not only get their attention, we'll get their allocation. But if you try to go because you know somebody in your state and try to cut a side deal, you may get a side deal, but your side deal would not be in proportion to what you're going to get if we unite and go after this stuff together. We have more brothers and sisters in the Congress than ever before. We have 60 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, 60. But that doesn't equate to us getting 60% or whatever the percentage of black congressmen of the allocation of funds. You know, right now, we're critical in a kind way because more money should be coming from federal advertising. We got some brothers and sisters who run in departments, but they go out and hire these non-black ad agencies that triage. And then you got a whole group out here who say they're black, they're not black. They're targeting black. You know, for all, you know, I'm just gonna be honest with you. BET is not black owned, but BET is getting millions of dollars to run ads about the black vote because they have persuaded the ad agencies that they can reach people in our communities that we can't. We need to turn that around. We have to say that we can reach people that they can't. I'm talking brothers and sisters in our community. But it's how we say it, it's how we do it together. I agree with the togetherness, but togetherness has to be a verb, not just a noun. How we act together, how we work together, how we strengthen and distribute messaging together. These brothers and sisters from Alabama, we're going to give them a lifetime achievement, but y'all don't even know why. Alabama, you can lose your life trying to vote. Alabama. And Greene County in particular, they're in the Alabama Black Belt. You know, and they're the only, well, I'm not to say the only, they bought the mainstream paper. They put the mainstream paper out of business through a boycott. And then they bought the paper. And that's why they own the Greene County Democrat.
Oh, well, Doc,
they had a strategy and implemented it.
You stole my thunder. I was coming up here to do
I'm
that.
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, it's difficult when your father figure is talking to interrupt him, right? Yeah. So I have to sit here patiently, and the longer I sit here, he says everything that's on my mind. Yeah, yeah. That's no, Mr. President. Let's just be mindful. We don't want people to get the wrong impression that the black press, the NNPA, is not together, because we are. We agreed under that term, team, spelled with 2 M's. Together, each can accomplish much more. So that's the key. And in terms of representation, you better believe, go out into the community and do things. You know, Cheryl was at the Rainbow Push. Brother Hellis is not here, but he's going to do something with the NAACP. Brenda Andrews Committee, the Memorandum of Understanding, that built and are the life functioning body of the NNPA. That's what will move us to where we need to be. What are you doing? And then if we can do that, I'm sure that the NNPA, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the Black Press of America, we are a publishers organization. We can't about a meeting coming up. Yeah, there's some publishers will be at that meeting. And I will be there as well to do what we're supposed to do. It's good that Nellie is taking notes. You know, nobody said anything about police brutality. You know, nobody said anything about that. We're overlooking, one of the main problems that we're having. And I'm glad to see Ron here. Yeah, that's a psychiatrist, whatever, extremely knowledgeable. Yeah. But let me stop rambling. We have to do it ourselves, okay? So that's it.
And let me just say, as we get ready to close out, because I did get a little concerned because we are streaming this live. But then I thought about it. Randy, are you live right now? That's fine if you are. I'm just asking. Get clips here. See, so what just happened here? Everything we talked about today just all happened at the same time. The Black Press of America just had a conversation about the party in power and the government in power spending money with us like they do with white media. That just went out. That's your story. What did Dr. Chavis just say? If you run that, and then folks go to a meeting, they say, well, you know, these people just ran this story on the front page. We need to talk to them. And there's video of it that Dawn and Randy can clip, and then everybody puts on their website. This is not just something that's a rumor. I heard they had a meeting. No, this is real. This is Black Press USA. This is us in a real meeting having, and it didn't, nobody instigated it. This was an organic conversation that evolved about how we do what we need to do. So the story just happened that we need to, so all that just came together. And it happened because of Neely. Give her a round of applause for pulling us together.
That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted.
So we're going to go upstairs for lunch. Claudette, is the Fireside Chat upstairs? Okay, so that's all together in lunch. Lunch. I know you don't. Never mind. Absolutely. Police, all of it. All of it. Yes.
I just wanted to say something really fast. This has been a great discussion. How many publishers in here are running political digital ads on Facebook or Instagram? You run political digital? Okay, we have about 2 people running political digital ads. So, okay. So let me read something real quick. Government and political advertisers had by far the highest ad spending on Meta, which is Facebook, between November 2018 and April 2022, totaling more than $500 million US. So over the next month or so, we will get together and have a webinar to help everyone in here understand a little bit more about how to leverage and actually use political ads this election season, because there is a lot of money on the table.
All right, everybody, we're going to head upstairs. Everybody, all minds clear? We good? Yeah, you can say something. Come on. What you want to say? She did. Niel, yeah.